How are you today? My name is Jeff Mack. We're at Full Compass, talking about the new Apollo Twin. Universal Audio really has a background in high-end recording products. Started way back in the 50s when we talk about what Bill Putnam did at Chicago Recorders to bring major things to the market like aux sends, artificial reverb. Things that we think about and take as granted today are things that Bill Putnam created. Universal Audio is a company that's really trying to put his heritage forward, trying to make those things go forward. The Apollo was a hugely successful line of products for us, and what we are trying to do is go forward with the Apollo Twin to bring that level of quality and accuracy down to something that's a little more accessible for someone that is recording in more of a creative music environment, somebody that is working in a smaller home studio, but without cutting on any of the corners from a quality standpoint. So when we look at the Apollo Twin, there are two versions of this particular box. They look identical. There are no differences between the inputs and outputs. The only difference is the amount of DSP processing that's inside the box. The Solo has a single chip for processing audio. The Duo has two chips for processing audio. When we get a little into the software, I'll kind of show you what that works. But let's take a quick trip around the box so you can kind of see what's going on. You'll notice we have a nice big pot on this. This allows me to control the functions of what's going on. I can control my headphone levels. I can control the levels for my monitors going out to my speakers. If I push the preamp button, I've got complete control of both of the microphone preamps that are built into this box. I can turn on my input levels. I can turn on my low filtering. I can turn on and off phantom power. Everything that I can do within a full studio version of the Apollo, I've got two of those within here. No sacrificing quality, the full version of what we've got, just less of them. When we look on the front panel, you'll also see that I have a headphone jack and a high-Z input that I can actually use for plugging guitar directly into the box. When I plug into input 1, it automatically defeats what's programmed or what's being plugged into microphone input 1. So I don't have to worry about having two things in and changing what's going on. If I look at the back side, you'll have two mic pre's. You've got two two monitor outputs to go to your near fields, an additional pair of outputs. You have a Thunderbolt connection, and then you also have a light pipe connection. So if you did choose to bring in more I/O from an external mic pre with ADAT connectivity, you could actually have up to 10 inputs coming into the box at the same time. Thunderbolt means it's very elegant to connect. It's a single connection point. Connect to any Macintosh at this point that has got modern Thunderbolt connectivity, and immediately give you tons and tons of connectivity so that you've got that kind of quality hooked up to your personal studio. One of the interesting things that's in this box is we have not only the DSP for post-processing, but one of the things we were very concerned about doing with our heritage was being able to model mic pre's from a real standpoint. To do that, you have to have not control of just things in the digital domain, but you need to have control of things in the analog domain as well. One of the things that changes significantly from mic pre to mic pre is its impedance. So the input of those mic pre's change pretty radically from something like an API to something like one of our own 610s. So of course, we're going to model one of our mic pre's to start, and when we look at the 610B, which is kind of the classic Universal Audio tube mic pre, we've actually gone through and done a full model of it. There is complete control both directions from software and hardware between the platforms. And I have control not only of what's going on in that digital processing mode to emulate what the tube does and what Drive does, but I've also got control on the front end. So when I change the mic pre impedance between 500 and 2K, I'm literally changing the physical input impedance of this, something that's very hard to do accurately in the digital domain. Doing it in the analog domain is perfect. We really get control of it. So I can get in, I've got control of my gain, and all of this is completely recallable. So obviously you can kind of see that while we've started with a 610, that there is a host of other opportunities from some of our companies that are out there that we're obviously already talking about who else we're going to model from a mic pre standpoint. The real beauty of the platform from a DSP standpoint is being able to use our processing, which is regarded as some of the best in the industry, not only for mixing, which anyone can do, and I can open up within any DAW platform, be it Pro Tools or Studio One or Logic or whatever you use, but being able to use it in low latency at tracking. So within our console application, you can literally see the software. If I wanted to open up, for instance, an API EQ and be able to track and record through that, I've got full capability to do that with less than 2 milliseconds of latency. You can also see at the top, there's a new slot that allows me to put in those mic pre's. There is that 610B model that I'm playing with right now. I can choose to drop that at a different stage if I wanted to. If I wanted to open it up actually in post, what I would lose is I'm losing my analog capabilities on that. I'm having the ability to actually process, use the EQ, but I'm doing all of that in the digital domain. The real benefit of all this is building this little mixer on the front end allows me to either track through those or just listen to them. So I can use it from a comfort standpoint if I wanted to put myself in Ocean Way's studio and listen to what those sounds would sound like there, or track through it and actually record it because I want to get that drum sound from Ocean Way B. I've got full capabilities to do that. These come in two versions. Like I said, the Solo, which gives you a certain amount of processing, and the Duo that gives you twice as much processing. Fully usable at tracking, but also you have access to all of that stuff at mixdown as well. We've spent a fair amount of time talking about the hardware involved in the Apollo Twin. A lot of the magic that happens, though, happens behind the scenes in software. I thought I'd teach you a little bit with showing you one of the plugins and kind of one of its applications. What I'm showing on my screen at this point is what we call our Ocean Way Studios plugin. Ocean Way in LA is one of the most famous studios in the world, and it has a certain sound to it. And while we certainly have the capabilities and have spent a lot of time modeling pieces of hardware, the idea here was to actually go and model a studio. Because we can't record in great rooms, but you want the ability to put what you've recorded in great rooms. And that is what Ocean Way is all about. You can actually see a picture here of the overhead room when we look at the screen. So I'm playing back, for instance, a little bit of a kind of audio piece. And the interesting thing about what I can do is I can go in and take Ocean Way, open it up. I've got it bypassed at this point, but I've got a fairly dry performance. And by putting this in place, I can actually put it into an acoustic space. And you're actually hearing it now change back and forth between placed in Ocean Way Studios and then bypassed so it's dry like it was originally. And you can kind of hear the pieces just kind of gel together like they were performed in that space. Because if there's a limitation in today's studio environment, it's not the equipment, which has come up to levels far ahead of what we had 10 years ago. It's the spaces we're doing those things in. So being able to model a professional studio is a really, really valuable piece of equipment. And also, I can go in and change my microphone positions and types. If I want to go from C12s in cardioid to C12s in omni, change those position and the balance of the microphones, and even choose where those microphones are placed within the room. Lots and lots of capabilities. Just a little bit of a tease for you so you can see what the possibilities are all about. If you've got further questions, you really want to find out some more information, I'd encourage you to contact your sales representative at Full Compass or look at it on the web at fullcompass.com. Thanks a lot.